Qatar. Qatar is located on the western coast of the Persian Gulf, at the eastern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. Its area is only about 11,500 square kilometers, and its land border is only with Saudi Arabia. However, its economic and political influence extends far beyond its size. In Qatar, which has a population of approximately 2.9 million, an interesting ratio stands out. Only 12% of the population are Qatari. The vast majority of the rest are foreign workers. This situation has completely changed the demographic structure of the country. The country's economy is almost entirely based on natural gas and oil. Qatar is one of the world's largest exporters of liquefied natural gas. This wealth has placed Qatar at the top of the world in terms of per capita income. The capital, Doha, is the heart of the country, a modern showcase of skyscrapers piercing the sky, luxury hotels, artificial islands, and architectural structures extending from glass mosques. But the crowds of migrant workers in the back streets of the city show a completely different Qatar. Qatar is governed by a constitutional monarchy. The country is ruled by the Al Thani family, and the emir is both the political and military leader of the state. Public participation in government is limited. Real power is concentrated around the dynasty. One of the country's most striking aspects is its media power. The Al Jazeera television network is Qatar's most influential face to the world. But the same freedom does not apply domestically. Freedom of the press and expression are severely limited in the country. Qatari society, although based on a conservative Islamic culture, exhibits a fairly controlled openness to the outside world. The place of women in the public sphere has increased in recent years, but traditional roles are still dominant. The boundaries of dress, behavior, and expression are determined by social norms. The situation of foreign workers is one of the country's most contentious issues. Most of them come from Asia and Africa, and they work in harsh conditions, receive low wages, and have limited access to basic rights. These issues have become more apparent during the preparations for the World Cup. Becoming a citizen in Qatar is nearly impossible. Citizenship is not granted even if foreigners have lived in the country for years. This leaves migrant workers living in constant transience without social security. Qatar's investments in education and health are remarkable. The country has attracted international universities and medical centers to Doha, making it one of the science and health centers in the region. In recent years, sports have been both a promotional tool and a soft power tool for Qatar. The 2022 World Cup is the biggest example of this. The whole world has watched how this small country manages a giant organization. Qatar is an active player in regional politics. It pursues a balancing act, negotiating with both the Taliban and the West, providing aid to Gaza, and hosting a US base. This versatility makes Qatar a fragile but effective actor. Religious life is a major part of daily life. Mosques are full. Calls to prayer echo through the city. But to outsiders, Qatar appears to be both orderly and surprisingly calm. And amidst all this complexity, Qatar is trying to shape its future. Knowing that a system built on wealth cannot last forever, the government is investing in tourism, education, and digital. But how fair and sustainable this transition will be is still debatable. Before moving on to the next section, if you watched this video up to this point, thank you guys. If you want to support us a little, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. Despite its small size, Qatar is a country that has a great influence on Middle Eastern politics. The main reason for this is its flexible and versatile foreign policy. It is one of the rare actors that can communicate with both the West and radical groups. The US military base in the country makes Qatar an indispensable partner for Washington. At the same time, its contacts with organizations such as Hamas allow it to play a mediating role between the West and the East. This dual game, although sometimes criticized, gives Qatar room to maneuver. In 2017, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt cut diplomatic ties with Qatar. The reason was Qatar's rapprochement with Iran and its disruption of the regional balance through media channels such as Al Jazeera. This crisis turned into both a test and a show of strength for Qatar. During the blockade, Qatar deepened its relations with countries such as Turkey and Iran. It demonstrated its economic resilience by quickly resolving the food and logistics crisis. This process gave the country the perception of a resilient state. Qatar's media power is spread around the world through Al Jazeera. This channel had a significant impact, especially among Arab peoples during the Arab Spring. However, the lack of the same freedom domestically is often cited as a paradox. Political opposition is almost non-existent in the country. Critical voices are quickly blocked on social media, journalists work under pressure, and self-censorship is widespread among the population. Qatar presents a modern and progressive image to the outside world, but inside there is a rigid social hierarchy. At the top are the Qatari elite, in the middle are the well-educated foreigners, and at the bottom are the millions of migrant workers. This class divide is felt in every aspect of daily life. The working conditions of migrant workers are frequently brought up. Problems such as long hours, low pay, and passports being taken by employers have still not been fully resolved. Even the data on workers dying before the World Cup has sparked major debate. The state announced that it would make some reforms in response to these criticisms. Steps such as minimum wage regulation and job security were taken. However, according to many human rights organizations, these are not enough and serious problems continue in practice. Qatar provides free healthcare, education, and housing to its citizens. However, these rights are only granted to citizens. The vast majority of the country's population remains outside this system. Attracting global brands to education is a key part of Qatar's modernization strategy. Northwestern and Georgetown have campuses in Doha, providing young Qataris with a strong academic foundation but remaining closed to foreign students. The visibility of women in social life is slowly increasing. Some women are taking active roles in government institutions, media, and business. However, social pressure is still strong in rural and conservative circles. In Qatar, the family structure is strong and social solidarity is important. However, migrants who remain outside this structure and live alone live an invisible life. For them, Qatar is a country where you work but do not belong. The country is a place where luxury and simplicity intertwine. Bentleys and smart city projects on one side, construction workers living in one-room apartments on the other. These contrasts are the clearest indicators of Qatar's growth model. And this entire structure is based on oil and natural gas. Qatar is aware of this and is trying to diversify its economy with new investments. However, the depletion of resources could be a serious test for the future of this small country. Qatar has been acting like a country trying to rebuild its identity in recent years. It wants to be part of the modern world while preserving its traditional Islamic culture. This contradiction is felt everywhere, from the streets to state policies. The 2022 FIFA World Cup was Qatar's biggest step on the global stage. Stadiums were built from scratch. Roads, hotels, and infrastructure were completely transformed. Qatar aimed to become a brand, not just an energy country, through sports. But the World Cup was not just a sports event. Issues such as workers' rights, freedom of expression, and the status of LGBT people were on the international agenda. Qatar's shining showcase made the dark spots behind it more visible. The country did not stop at sports, it also showed itself in the field of art and culture. International museums, biennials, and exhibitions opened in Doha began to make Qatar a regional cultural center. These investments are seen as part of the search for identity. The media remains one of Qatar's most powerful tools, with Al Jazeera having a significant impact not just in the Arab world, but also in global news reporting. But the channel has often been criticized for its silence on Qatar's domestic issues. Qatari youth are becoming more active in technology and entrepreneurship. With government funding and grants, many young people are starting their own businesses. However, these opportunities are still only available to citizens and are inaccessible to millions of expatriates living in the country. Women have started to make their voices heard more, albeit limited. Successful examples are emerging in the media, art, and academia. However, the boundaries drawn by family structure and religious norms are still strong. Daily life in Qatar is calm and controlled. Crime rates are low, and public order is strictly maintained. However, this order is maintained mostly through surveillance and control. There is almost no culture of political debate in the country. Parliamentary elections are limited. Most decisions are made directly by the emir's family. This has become a habit among the people. Questioning is not a common reflex. Qatar's rich and modern exterior is supported by artificial balances inside. Values such as social justice, freedom of expression, and participation in governance are still in the development stage. The country's vision is to diversify the economy, boost tourism, and strengthen digitalization by 2030. But it is still unclear how widespread these goals will be and how they will cover millions of non-citizens. Qatar has shown a remarkable rise on a global scale. However, for this rise to be sustainable, not only the economy but also the social structure must be transformed. Otherwise, the modern showcase will continue to make the internal problems more visible. While planning for the future, the country is also trying to preserve its connection with the past. Qataris wandering around traditional bazaars and young people living in smart cities represent two different faces of the same society. This multi-layered structure has become the most important element that determines Qatar's identity. And now everyone is asking, how much can Qatar change? Is wealth alone enough, or is a sustainable future impossible without justice, freedom, and equality? Together we examined Qatar's wealth, contradictions, and global rise. This small country continues on its way with big questions. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you later.